Alrighty, so here we go again. Another woke Hollywood elite trying to lecture us about white privilege. There's this video or clip of Chelsea Handler at the Red Table Talk with Jada Pinkette and her mother having a conversation about white privilege. And she was talking about her documentary that she made on said subject, in which the clip that they showed, a based working class American woman actually set her straight and, stunned her with a response when she asked her, what do you think about white privilege, whether you think it exists or not? I mean, it's a beautiful sight to see. And I want to do a reaction to this particular video because there was a whole lot of aspects to actually unpack when it comes to this particular video. So before we jump right in, I want to quickly take a moment out to say a big thank you to every single one of you out there, because I have finally hit the elusive 1,000 subscriber mark, and I am truly grateful to every single one of you who make comments, hit the like button, or subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate every single person. It's been a humbling experience, and I just wanted to say a big thank you and happy new year as well. Hope you guys had a great transition into 2024, and yeah, let's have a great year together. In any case, you guys, let's jump straight into this reaction. I'm going to share my opinion as we go along. Feel free to share your opinion about this in the comment section below. Without further ado, let's have some fun with this now, shall we?
I had a lot of revelation in watching your documentary, seeing how white people could actually be confused by the idea of white privilege, and why there would be some white people that believe that white privilege is non-existent.
So what we're filming is a documentary on white privilege, to see if it exists or if it's a fantasy that people are just making up in their heads. What do you think?
I think it's something they're making up in their heads.
You don't think it exists?
No, I had the same privileges that the other guys had. And
What other guys?
other guys, black, white, Hispanic,
Right.
I think everybody makes their own choices.
100%. What I think there is class privilege. There's no such thing as white privilege. If you come from a rich family, whether it's black, white, Hispanic, Asian, you will enjoy the same privilege as those rich families. If you come from a poor home, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Asians, you're going to experience the underprivileged experience that underprivileged people experience. It doesn't matter if you're white. Doesn't matter. So this whole white privilege thing, just like that woman said, it's something people are making up in their heads.
You were surprised about that?
I was surprised because, yes, because privilege to a lot of people is related to money.
Mm-hmm. That's how I thought of it.
Right.
Right.
If it's not related to money, then what is it related to? Privilege is related to money in a whole lot of ways. Like I said, there's class privilege and there is, that's all there is. There's class privilege. It's not white privilege. It's not synonymous to white privilege. What they refer to as privilege, which they will describe in this video, is about class, has nothing to do with race. But let's continue.
And I read a line in a book that said, to many people, equality feels like a loss.
Right.
And that's the moment, that was the line. I'm very big on one line takeaways.
Right.
Equality feels like a loss. And then I thought, what would I be willing to give up in the name of equality?
Right.
If you were to say to me, hey, give me your house and everything's going to be fair and equal.
Right.
Sure, of course I would.
Right.
But
Of course you wouldn't. Do you believe that for a second? I certainly don't. Most of these people, they are hypocrites. They never do anything that they say they would do. They always talk a big game, but talk is cheap. Do it and let's see.
what would individuals who have nothing to give be okay with giving?
Right.
I feel like if you're born white, you're born with your foot in the door.
Okay, so now you're talking about foot in the door, which means you're talking about wealth. Foot in the door means wealth or opportunities to get in wealth, right? Because that's the general idea of where this whole white privilege ideology comes from, getting wealth, getting opportunities, right? So if it's not related to money, then what is it related to? That's why I said there is class privilege, not white privilege.
Absolutely.
I've sat down and broken bread with underprivileged white people, right? So I could see how there would be white people in America that would say, I don't know how I'm paying my bills. I don't know how I'm going to get my kid into college. Privilege? I'm out here struggling. What are you talking about?
Right.
It's amazing that it's Jada Pinkette, of all these women, of all the people in the world, that's actually making sense. If you're underprivileged, how can you be privileged? Because privilege is privilege. Whether you call it white privilege or whatnot, how can you be having white privilege but be underprivileged? How is that possible? Make that make sense, someone. Please make that make sense.
And I think that's a defining word, though, struggle. I've had hard times in my life, but I've never struggled to eat, to have food on the table, worried about my next job in a real way.
Right. But there are a lot of white people in this country that do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying white people don't struggle. Absolutely. But that's a good word to use. And
So that's what I'm saying. Once again, she's describing she never had to struggle, but that's because your family probably paved the way for you. Do you think that Jaden and Willow, who are the children of this particular woman, Jada Pinkette, do you think that they've ever had to struggle? No, they never had to struggle. Denzel Washington's son, John Davis Washington, do you think he ever had to struggle? He's a big actor today. Do you think he ever had to struggle? No, his father paved the way for him, and his father is black, last I checked, right? So most of these things that you're describing, it's class privilege. And earlier in this video, I didn't show that part. She was talking about her experience with the police and things that she got away with. Well, I've seen videos of a person like Ray J get pulled over by police officers for actually breaking a traffic stop sign or whatever, or it was speeding. And when they found it was Ray J, instead of giving him a ticket, they took photos with him. Right? These were white police officers stopping a black guy, but because the black guy is of the upper echelons, is an elite, instead of actually giving that person a ticket, they let him off in the warning and they took photos and took autographs from him. So it's class privilege. Everybody can help themselves to that class privilege if you actually put your mind to it. It's as simple as that.
And it is kind of intimidating because people don't want to get out of their comfort zones. That people who say, I don't see racism, it's because you don't know any black people. So when would you witness it?
So
when you talk about racism, it doesn't even come into play because that's a straw man argument. And that's what they want to always try to correlate this to. This is how they push those messaging towards black people especially, but majorly towards minority, so that they can sow a seed of hatred towards white people. But what that messaging does is it sends a message into a black man's mind and says, a black man or black woman's mind, and says, you can't make it like they do because you don't have white privilege. So don't even bother to try to make it. So it becomes a perfect excuse not to make it. Morgan Freeman said the same damn thing when he went on CNN a couple of years ago, that racism is a perfect excuse not to make it. It is powerless in today's world. Back in the days, yes, but in today's world, racism is powerless. It cannot suppress you or oppress you, whatever color that you are. However, if you buy into it, you will end up feeling like a person who's oppressed, and you will end up where oppressed people are ending up. That's the way that it works.
have you come up with a definition that you feel really describes white privilege?
And here is the beauty of it. In my own research, when it comes to the definition of white privilege, even Peggy McIntosh, who coined the phrase white privilege, doesn't have a definition for it. She has this long list of description of what she thinks or believes it is, but she doesn't have a definition for it. I watched Oprah, and old show that she did. She couldn't define what white privilege is. There was an English black professor who tried to define white privilege and couldn't define what white privilege is, and said it's not that when you say you have white privilege, it doesn't mean that there aren't underprivileged white people. Then what does it mean? What is this thing? Is it some kind of pixie dust that just you sprinkle over white people and it just gives them superpower over everybody else, or what? What is it? They don't know what it is. So let's see if genius here, Chelsea Handler, the person who up until she was about 40 years old, according to her or thereabouts, didn't know the difference between the sun and the moon, thought it was the same bodies, that the sun goes down and comes back up as the moon at night. That's what she thought until she was 40. This is the person trying to give you an opinion about something that doesn't exist. So let's hear what she had to say.
I always use the example that, going into a grocery store as a white person is totally different than going into the grocery store as a black person. No one's looking at you to screw up. No one's looking at you to take something. No one suspects anything. Do you know how many times I've walked out of grocery stores because the line was too long and I didn't feel like waiting? I was like, this is annoying. I'm just going to take it. And shoplifted. I mean, talk about entitlement and privilege. I just knew I wouldn't get caught.
So that's a definition of white privilege. That's a definition of white privilege. She could walk into a store and walk out of the store with no one suspecting, nobody harassing her, nobody doing anything because she's white. That's white privilege. Well, hold my beer, lady. You can see some of that white privilege. There's some of that white privilege right there. Right there. You just picked those things up and walked right out. Did anybody harass them? No. According to her, that's white privilege. So you can see some black people helping themselves to some nice white privilege right there. So if black people can help themselves to it, I mean, there are many examples you can see. This particular woman just did the same thing with her kids. And when somebody called her out on it, she flashed a gun. So I'm not going to show that, right? Now, a lot of black people out there have been helping themselves to so much white privilege that this started happening. Walgreens announces plans to close 150 stores in the U.S. And this other story was floating around a couple of months ago. Check this out. As Walmart shuts down 4 stores in crime-ridden, Dem-led Chicago, DailyMail.com lists all the big box shops from Macy's to Target, which have closed due to millions in losses from rampant white privilege. I meant theft, right? According to her, theft is white privilege, right? And not only that, what makes this story even funnier is that these people who have been losing tens of millions per year due to white privilege, when they decided to do the right thing that you do, because you're not running a charity organization, you're running a business, and if your business is running at a loss, you close that particular business. Well, the community expresses outrage over Walmart closing. And these people who have been enjoying white privilege started accusing Walmart of racism. So this is where we're at, people. This is where we are at. Haven't known all this. Haven't known that there's no such thing as white privilege. There's class privilege. But this woman who doesn't know the difference between the sun and the moon is the one telling you that this is white privilege. What do you guys think about this? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you really think there's such a thing as white privilege? Or is this something that people are making up in their head, like that base working class white woman, American working class woman said, who just happens to be white, right? Just happens to be white, right? Let me know in the comment section below. Would you prefer to listen to her, or do you want to listen to these elites who live in the bubble, whom they don't know anything about reality and how these things are affecting people negatively, especially by the stories that I just showed you in reality? So let me know in the comment section below. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, ding that bell for notification, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care, peace, and Saya's out. Bye-bye.